Welcome to High Tales with the Lit Sisters, and we are those Lit Sisters.
We are, and we are back with a new series. We are reading Fourth Wing.
Woo!
So we are recording Fourth Wing, probably 3 episodes, and then we're going to have Iron Flame, which will be 3 to 4, and then hopefully that'll run us right into the release of Onyx Storm.
Woo!
Which I am very, very, very excited.
And I have pre-ordered both book version and audio version, depending on what I decide to do.
You guys, you're going to get properly pronounced names.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
We're not going to make promises.
I am like washing dishes and stuff while I'm listening, so...
You don't like redo it in your head and say it over and over
Well,
again?
I tried to start because you put a lot of pressure on me.
I think
here.
these are harder in this book.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think so.
Okay.
Just a quick reminder on what you get with High Tales with the Lit Sisters. We are sisters, obviously.
I'm the much younger sister.
It's not much.
It's so much younger.
Whatever makes you feel better.
It's that really awkward age gap.
You're the sister with no gray hair in all the pictures.
But there's gray hair. I just am really good at hiding it.
What you get with us is we have a shared love of reading, mostly fantasy. We do read other things. Well, I read other things. Marissa tends to stick with the genre that we're reading.
No, I do fantasy, sci-fi, historical fiction.
I do smut.
I don't.
I sprinkle some smut in there.
I can do the long mean smut.
The slow burn.
The slow burn.
The slow burn smut.
Not the hot burn.
We also like to elevate our minds while we're reading, while we're talking about reading. It makes everything a little bit more fun. We promise in this series to not spoil anything from where we are reading right now into the future of this book and into the future of the next book if we have read it. But we will spoil behind. Right? So you have to watch these in order if you don't want spoilers. If not, listen to whatever one you want. I said watch. You're not watching us. You're listening to us.
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday. We will also spoil other sitcoms, shows, books that we have read. They're all free game at this point because we like to make analogies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
All right. So when we have our nice little canon moment right here, we kind of like to do a little intro of the book. So for this series, Marissa, you have only read what we are going to talk about right now.
Exactly. And you historically have been so bad at spoilers, and I had to like cut them out. So if you spoiler, I might cry.
I thought you were about to give me a compliment.
Oh, no. No, that was feedback.
I thought you were going to say you're historically so bad at spoilers. Do you know I finished both these books like a month ago?
And you haven't berated me.
Anything to you.
Okay, so you're less aggressive. But I'm hoping you're also better at not saying the spoiler because I have literally just read to what we're talking about.
I think I'm going to be okay. I read them and then I reread like just the section that we're talking about. So I think we're going to be good.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're better at this now.
Oh, well. Give us feedback.
All right. So knowing what you know right now about the series.
While we elevate.
Yeah. What are you excited about for this series?
That's such a big question because we read up to chapter 15 through chapter 15. And dude, it's one of those like Harry Potter things where it's like you're following somebody. You're following somebody who is special for some reason.
Yeah.
And so it's validating all this, like, she's special, she's different. And I don't know, I just want to know more about her and why she's different.
I do think she is more of a badass than the other series that we've read.
Yeah.
Personality-wise.
She is
very
sassy.
Very confident in herself. Very strong mentally. Yeah. I also love that there's a little disability nod here, a chronic pain, chronic illness nod here. So we already know in this first part that her mom had some sort of fever while she was pregnant, and Violet's hair is silver on the ends, and she has very weak joints. And I don't know if it's weak bones. It's more her joints, but she is easily injured, very easily injured. I know it'll be repetitive throughout all the books, but in this first part, it's very repetitive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as a mom of a kid with special needs, I kind of love the, like, not everyone's the same.
You can still do it.
Yeah. So I love that nod. I'm also very excited for the dragon aspect of fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Because we haven't, in the whole ACOTAR series, we didn't do dragons at all. And these dragons are cool. These are cool dragons. Well, and we don't know a lot about them in this first half, but I'm really excited for the dragon edition.
And so I haven't watched House of Dragon yet.
Okay. But you watched Game of Thrones.
I watched Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I haven't ever been really deep with the dragons. Like in Game of Thrones, it was like dragon theory, like what used to happen with dragons. But this is like interaction with dragons.
Dragons was only at the very end of Game of Thrones, that last season, and they still were relatively small for what they would be.
And there wasn't dialogue with dragons.
No.
You weren't getting dragon internal thought.
No, you weren't. I will say House of the Dragon, though, the dragons are a big play. And I did, do my little nerdy research on the side where I'd be like, okay, how do you say so-and-so's dragon? And so-and-so has this dragon. And what does it look like? Like, I was very intrigued.
Yes.
By all the dragons. But I think I still don't have inner dialogue there with dragons either.
Yeah. So that's why I'm more excited about this.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Let's go ahead and get started. We start this book at Basgiath College, which is a military college.
The Hogwarts of this.
This is very military though. So we know, before I get started on the scene that we start in, let's just lay the groundwork here. There are quadrants. There's the Riders Quadrant, which are the people who ride the dragons. Mm-hmm. There's the Scribe Quadrant, which is in charge of writing down all of history, interpreting all of history, and keeping all tabs on that.
Yeah.
There's the Healer Quadrant, which is pretty self-explanatory.
Yes.
And then...
but I will note, healers don't use magic to heal. They have to use regular instruments. Only people who are given powers have the ability to heal, and that's super rare. Yes. So I just want to note that.
Yes, because powers come through the dragon, so only the riders are the ones that have the powers. We do also hear very briefly at the beginning here, there is an infantry, they have to take a test to get into Basgiath College, and if you don't pass the assessment, then you can be in the infantry, which is, I would assume, kind of more ground forces.
The front line.
The front lines, yeah. So there are other people in play. When we start into Fourth Wing, we are introduced in Violet's point of view, and we can hear Mira, her sister, yelling at their mom. And we find out her mom is a very high up general.
Yes.
She's nothing to scoff at, that's for sure. And Violet can hear Mira yelling. She said Mira's just like her mom. They look the same. They both have the short hair. They're both strong and powerful and arrogant and all of those things. And she is going on and on to her mom because her mom is forcing Violet into the Riders Quadrant.
And as you recall from our original Violet introduction, she has really weak ligaments. And so she gets injured very easily. So the Rider Quadrant is the military arm of this society. And not only that, the rider segment of it, which is not only the military,
these are the Navy SEALs.
Yeah, these are the Green Berets.
Yes, very much so. And we also find out in this, in Violet's internal dialogue and what Mira and her mom are fighting about, and she's listening, that Violet's father was a scribe. Mm-hmm. So mom was a writer, dad was a scribe, and Violet had trained to be a scribe her whole life because she's also very tiny. So we talked about the injuries, but she's also very short, very small, no muscle.
Well, and
spent her whole childhood in a library.
I love the fact that we aren't revering tiny, petite, really tiny people. It's kind of you're athletic, you're strong, you're healthy. That's what's...
Yeah, they're looking down on her.
Yes.
Heroin chic is not a thing in the Riders Quadrant.
Which I love because I am not.
So Mira's going on, and I do love... At some point, Violet walks in, right? And I love how Violet actually is cracking smart-ass comments under her breath. They're talking about her like she's not even there. I do find it interesting that Mira is going on and on about all of her weaknesses and why there's no way. And Their mom looks at Mira and says, Violet deals with more pain before lunch than you do in an entire week. If any of my children are capable of surviving the writer's quadrant, it's her.
Yeah.
And Violet was kind of like, that sounded awful, a lot like a compliment.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Shocked. She was shocked. She actually was like thinking in her head, how is this like an insult?
Yeah.
Like,
she's like, wait a minute, that's not right. And then very quickly her mom moves on. Mira also throws out there that her mom must be hell-bent on losing another child. So we learn about their brother, Brennan, that we know also died at some point. We also know he was also a very talented writer.
yes.
So family full of writers. Mom is making it very clear everyone in this family is a writer. And they're like, Dad wouldn't want this. And she flat out said, well, he's dead.
Yeah.
He's not here.
Yeah.
My decision. She's going. So Mira is like, fine. Basically, Violet's mom dismisses her. So in a very military way, stands firm, turns on her heels, goes out. She pulls Violet into Violet's room and dumps out all of her crap in her pack. And Violet was like, it took me all night to pack that. And she's like, it weighs as much as you do. There's no way you're making it across the parapet.
Well, and she packed multiple books.
Of course she did. Of course she did. I kind of wanted to count the number of books. But like, okay, the parapet, this is the first thing that they have to do when they get there. They have to cross. I saw this long, like, I'm talking, how far do you think it was?
Mile.
I was not thinking that far.
Yeah.
500 feet.
Okay.
500 feet over a ravine, right? Yeah. Rushing water below you. You have to cross it. And Violet thinks she can take like 6 or 7 books.
I mean, why not? Yeah.
So Mira pulls a bunch of stuff out. She gives her fighting leather. She had like a tunic on. So I saw like the wide cream, kind of Hogwarts.
You want something light so that way you can move easy.
A Gandalf outfit that she thought she was going to go across this high parapet in. She's like, no, put these leathers on. Mira also gave her this special armor, which I thought was genius. She took her dragon's scales that would shed, and someone there that she knows has a signet that makes things big or small.
Signet is power.
Yes. So you're a writer. Once you're a writer, once you bond with the dragon channels power through the writer.
Yeah.
And your signet is kind of your special combination, your special sauce when it comes to how powerful your dragon is, but then who you are as an individual. Mira knows somebody with the signet to make small things big and big things small. And they have a little joke there about like, wink,
innuendo.
But she took all the scales, had this person shrink them down, and then she sewed it into armor.
Yeah.
It's like, how's everyone not wearing this?
Because not everyone has an older sister who's already a writer.
How is it not issued? You know why it's not?
One person can shrink stuff.
No, but still.
Supply chain, man.
It's fine. But still, either way, you know why?
Why?
Because they don't give a fuck if you live or die at this college. We're going to find out real quick that people die all the time.
Yes.
And I feel like more than any fantasy book I have read, the amount of people, kids, dying at an academic place, I think Fourth Wing wins.
I mean, I historically haven't read college books about, like, dying. So, I mean, the closest thing is Hunger Games, but that was...
Divergent, I would say, is similar.
Yeah, there was not much death in Divergent. No, like, in order to get to graduate.
To a level, no. And then I read Zodiac Academy, and it's not like this common thing. Like, people die, I guess, but not like... This is just like, 50 fucking people died today. And everyone's like,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be a long announcement.
Like, what? And this isn't even the front lines yet. You don't even have a job yet.
No.
Okay. Getting back to Mira's advice, she is vomiting information at Violet at this point. She does let her keep one book, too. Mm-hmm. She lets her keep the book about poisons, which is great. And she repacks all of her stuff. She's given her tips on make sure you go find Dain. So we hear the name Dain Atos. Is that how you say it? Atos. Marissa listened to it, so I'm going to refer to you a lot for those. But we find out Dain is her childhood friend that made the Writer's Quadrant the year before.
Yeah.
So she hasn't seen him for a year, or because your first year, you can't talk to friends or family at all. No letters, no nothing.
And they're actually family friends because Dane's dad is Violet's mom's aide.
Correct.
So they're always together.
They're like little Air Force brats, right?
Yeah.
They got shipped over to all the different places together. Yeah. And we're a year apart and grew up very good friends. When they are walking to the parapet, we also get this concept of, there's a separatist kid. So we hear a little bit about this, that there was a rebellion and the children of those traitors that were executed have a like relic, which is essentially a tattoo, is what I'm always picturing in my head.
See,
right?
I pictured it more like a scar.
Like a burn.
Like a cut almost. Like where the ridges of it would be like.
Yeah.
Yeah, like more like a deep cut scar.
Oh, no. I pictured like swirls. Almost burn-like.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I did not see it as anything that could be like attractive. I saw it as like a scar.
Okay.
A deep scar.
Interesting. So we do find out that General Melgreen, which is Dain and Violet's parents' boss, boss. General Melgreen's dragon did that to all the family members when he executed the parents. So that's how they got I guess maybe that's why I thought it was like a burn almost.
Yeah. It's like a family tree where just anybody associated
is scarred for life. Scarred for life. Interesting, to say the least. So,
sad.
Yes. So that scene, that kid, reminds Mira, she turns to Violet and says, stay the hell away from Xaden Ryerson. So we find out Xaden Ryerson is the child of the leader of the rebellion. He is at the college and he is a third year, so he's high up there as well. The great betrayer was his dad. And she's like, he will kill you as soon as he finds out who you are.
Yeah.
Because their mom is responsible for the execution of all their parents.
Yeah.
So Violet's about to go into a college where there are kids that are allowed in that her mom killed all of them, their parents.
Yeah.
And she has very noticeable silver-ended hair that she refuses to cut. And she is too tiny and has a long, like a chronic illness that makes her joints and things like that very weak.
Well, and not only that, she doesn't want to do it. So yes. A lot of people around her, so they are like walking up, waiting in line to set off, right? Mira, the only reason she's allowed to go this far and with her sister is because she actually is a writer. Yeah. And so this is like her parents.
A very famous writer.
Exactly.
As well. Yeah.
And so she is with Mira. Mira's giving her all this advice and she's like, oh, I wish I was a scribe. So she doesn't have the quote unquote skills, the size, or the like desire to be here.
Right.
This is punishment.
But in that, she still is like doing it.
Yeah.
Right? I still sense like toughness out of her, but she's, Oh, and also, not to mention, she's only been training for 6 months.
Yeah.
Everyone else, like her sister trained her whole life. She's been training to be a scribe up until this point. And they're 20, right? When they go to this college. So they're 20 years old.
Yeah.
She has 6 months of training. And everybody else has had years.
Well, it's been a lifestyle for them.
Right.
This is what they do.
It's a lifestyle, Bob.
Yeah. Well, and we already know that it's so unsuccessful. So she's like going around in this line thinking like, these people are crazy. Why are they so excited about this?
Yeah.
So anyway, so she walks up, she gets in line. She actually meets some people in line.
Mira also told her, don't make friends with anybody.
No.
Make alliances, but don't make friends.
And the first thing she does is goes, hi, I'm Violet.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. And so they are in line. Mira says goodbye.
Yeah.
Has given all the advice she could. And they are standing in line. So she meets this girl. Her name's Rhiannon.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right?
You listened to the audiobook.
Okay. So Rhiannon.
Yeah.
And Dylan was in front of him.
Yes.
And he was just so excited.
He was so excited.
And they were I can't wait to meet dragons. Like, and he talks about his fiance, her.
Because one of the things he was excited about was that they get to get married earlier than other quadrants.
Yeah.
Right after graduation.
Yes.
Because so many of them die.
Yes.
So that was a perk for him to join the quadrant because he gets to marry the love of his life.
The engagement ring still like in his pocket
Because-
to remind him of. So he is psyched, right?
Yeah.
Mira had also warned Violet that, okay, the weather doesn't look good.
Oh, yeah, I forgot it was like starting to rain.
Yes. So she's like, be careful, be slow, just don't die.
Well, part of her was like, take those damn shoes off, put these on.
Yeah.
Put riding shoes on that grip. You're going to slip right off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so she actually looks at Rhiannon and sees she's got such flat shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so slick. And she's like, take off your left boot. And Rhiannon's like, okay, I just met you. No thanks. Like, you don't even seem excited here. I've been talking about how excited I am about dragons.
Yeah.
And so she explains, like, it's going to be slippery. Take off your shoe. Mine has good traction. At least we'll survive, have a better chance of survival.
And she's a size bigger than her.
Yeah.
So each or one of them is going to have a foot that's cramping and one's going to have a shoe on that's too big.
And Rhiannon, she is the one with the foot that's cramping. She's like, it's going to hurt like hell, but trust me, it's worth it.
Yeah.
And so they start climbing. I picture this as like over this huge ravine where if you fall, you're dead immediately.
I honestly pictured like stairs, right? Yeah. Like natural, they're up a mountain. And then they get to this little thing and there were like stone pillars where taking names and stuff. And I pictured like just a really long piece of wood.
Because they talk about like there's branches.
They talk about that it was mortar. Ooh, I forgot about that, actually. That's still not what I pictured in my head. I pictured a piece of wood. And I will say, like, it wasn't smooth. It was smooth in parts. But it's how wood is. There are places that are a little more like splintery. Yeah. And then places that are kind of slick because of whatever. Because she did also talk about that there wasn't moss or anything on it, though. No. Right? So that's also why I pictured wood as well. Yeah.
So she walks up. It's like she's seeing people go. And she actually sees somebody in the distance, like, fall. And so she's like, okay, this is getting real. Yeah. And she sees how disgusting it is outside. Yeah. It is sideways rain. It is windy. It looks horrible. She's getting closer and closer to the front. She sees the most gorgeous man she's ever seen in her life.
She said, I want to quote this.
Yes.
Flaming hot, scorching hot, get you into trouble and you like it level of hot.
Yes.
I thought that was such a good line.
Yes.
I was like, oh, okay, so he hot. Got it. All right.
Yeah. Well, and mind you, everybody else she's describing in her head, she doesn't, like, she's like, oh, he's blonde with brown eyes or something like that. Like, she'll give, like, physical description, but does not state attractiveness level.
Actually, I didn't notice that till you just said that, but no, she doesn't.
And then her first reaction is like, you don't know how tall he is, what color hair he has. You just know he is hot.
She's just like, I just see the most exquisite man I have ever seen.
Yes. And we all know who I pictured. I'm sorry. I love you, Superman.
Henry Cavill. No. Xaden, you can't whitewash Xaden.
Oh, that's true.
Xaden has brown skin.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Henry Cavill had a darker skin tone.
Okay, that's exactly the problem.
No. Yeah, he has darker skin.
Tall, very attractive, or hot, super hot boy.
Yes. And then she realizes from somebody else that it's exactly who she's supposed to be staying away from.
Yeah. And she's like, oh crap. And she like gets up in line. They're asking, the redhead taking names asks her name. And she's like, oh, I'm Violet. And tries like, she does not want Zay to hear her last name.
I didn't get that. I thought she's just said it. And then, but as soon as it came out of her mouth, he like turned directly at her. Yeah.
Well, and so did heckling from behind her start. So like a couple people behind her heard her name. Yeah. And I mean, saw her hair because her hair is very like,
they know.
Yeah. And so she like, they start heckling her.
Yeah.
You know, anybody with a scar is basically heckling her because her mom was one of the decision makers in the rebellion.
Yeah.
Like treatment of the rebellion.
But Xaden gets in her face.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell that part?
No, do it.
Oh.
If you start it.
Oh,
If you start it, finish it.
Xaden looks directly at her, though, and is like, your mom killed my dad. And she goes, your dad killed my brother. Say we're even.
Yeah.
So even though this is at the point that she says he towers above her.
Yeah.
So he's like 6'5". She's probably like 5'2".
Mm-hmm.
And I just see this little Spitfire gray pony crown on her head, looking straight up at him like,
yeah,
your dad killed my brother. And he's like, all right, I would kill you, but why should I? I'll let the Parapet take you.
Rhiannon is climbing up. She's waiting for her turn to go while they're having this exchange. She looks up, horrible weather. She actually sees poor Dylan, Mr. Engagement, falling to his death.
Yeah,
he was so excited and like was talking about what dragon he would want and how like
it's fine, Marissa, it's Dylan. We're never going to talk about him again.
Okay,
because he already fell and died.
Okay, this is the the person besides her sister that we know the most about.
I know, but
in the story,
it's going to get real quick.
Yes. So there's going to be a lot of people that die. The weather is horrible. She's like, Rhiannon's going to survive because I helped her with this shoe thing. She actually thinks in her head there's no way she would have survived because it was so slick.
Yeah.
So they're going through and Rhiannon is doing great. We already know Dylan died. Behind her, she looks over her shoulder and two people back, Jack, he actually runs up on the person behind her and throws him off the ledge.
Yeah.
So she's like, holy cow, these people are not only like, we're all gonna die because this is hard, but it's also people are just murdering each other.
He was already like John at her before and everything like that.
Yes. And so he looks up at her after he murders this person and says, you're next. And she's like, oh shit, I gotta go faster. And so she is like climbing fast. Rhiannon gets past. She gets past just as Jack like jumps over and she has all of the knives that her sister helped her put in her outfit or uniform. I don't know, what would you call it? Armor.
Yeah.
And so she takes out some blades and gets it right as he's like on top of her and it's right at his balls.
Yeah.
And so she is like, according to code, blah, 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 because she, of course, is a scribe and has memorized the code book, all of the laws. So she knows exactly what it is. And she's like, you cannot, I'm past the threshold. I'm in the school. You cannot hurt me.
Once they're in formation. Yep.
Once they're in formation. He's like, oh, I don't care. And then what?
I don't think he growled.
I think he did. I pictured him growling. No. I pictured her on the ground and him like over her like.
No, I just pictured him up on a step and she turned around and she had a knife right at his balls because she was lower and it was right there.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't really care. And then the person sitting there waiting to take names was like, she's actually right, dude. Yeah. And she's actually a cadet and you're still on the parapet.
Yeah. So technically she can just cut.
Yeah. I think the person actually looked at her and was like, what do you want to do? You want to allow him to proceed? And she did.
Horrible news.
Well, she had slipped on the parapet and hit her knee really hard. So she was at that last descent that you were talking about that was like intense.
Yeah.
Her knee is pretty fucked up right now. And we already know she's got something. We don't quite know what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, her knee is hurting her. Big time.
Yeah. So she goes over into the corner and is like, I'm going to puke. And looks up and sees her great friend. Her great friend.
Yes, Dain is there. She does make the comment in the last year he's gone from good looking to gorgeous. Like he got gorgeous over the summer, which is interesting.
And he looks over and is like, what are you doing here? Because again, up until 6 months ago, everybody thought she was going to be a scribe.
Not only a scribe, like one of the best.
Yes.
Right? She's great. She was really good at it too.
She was. She just takes after her Faja.
Mm-hmm.
So he is shocked that she's there and she's like, hold on a second. I'm going to be sick and I can't really walk. And so he like grabs her and he's like, you can't do this in front of people. You're going to show weakness and stuff. And Rhiannon is behind and is like, excuse me, let go of my friend.
She's with me, bro.
Excuse me. This is not cool. And it's like, oh, by the way, we've got to switch shoes back. My feet are killing me.
Yeah.
And congratulations.
Well, and Dain like right back at her, was like, get out of here, da 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 da. Ree was like, what are you fucking doing here? And Violet had to tell her he's one of my oldest friends. And she's like, oh, okay. And he was like, go tell everybody that this is just the adrenaline. And she's like, if anybody asks, I'm going to tell them it's none of their fucking business.
Oh, I'm already friends
So
with
it's
her.
like they were fighting on who's friends.
And so Dain was basically like, okay, I can see you trust her.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells Ree, go back to the redhead over there and tell her you're in fourth wing.
No, second squad. Second wing.
Squad.
They were in second
Squad, second wing.
No.
Fourth wing, left chair.
Pie in sky, go. No, they were in the second wing. But he basically said, tell her, the redhead, she's got a bow with her all the time. The same one that told Violet she could kill Jack if she wanted to.
Yeah.
Go tell her you're in second wing with me.
Yep.
Hurry along, Ree.
Yes. Well, I take this last to my bedroom.
Yes. And he is, as he's helping her, he's like, you know you're not supposed to be here. And she's like, I know, it's not that big of a deal. She's jawing back with him. Flirting, like really flirty. I thought it was a little risque flirting because he was like, it's fine. I'll just tell them that I was overcome by lust. And she's like, I'll call your name a few times in your room if you want me to sell it.
They get there and they wrap her leg and he's just like, you're an idiot. Why are you here?
Yeah.
And she talks about how her mom is like forcing her.
Well, she's
obviously.
like, you think I had a choice? You think I want to be here?
You know me. We grew up. I was supposed to be a scribe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he was just like, you're going to die. And she's like, I'm well fucking aware of my odds, asshole. It does get to the point that she's like, I think 15% of cadets die. Or not, they're not even cadets yet, right? Yeah. 15% die crossing the parapet. She's like, at least I've made it that far.
Yeah, I'm an academic, bro.
Yeah.
I know the numbers. I'm well aware.
I've written the numbers.
Pretty much know my mom just sent me to my death.
He even is like, we can sneak you out. And she's like, my mom's just going to haul me right back here.
Yeah.
All right. They get, they're all done mending up her knee. He's like, I'll go this way. You go that way. They wait another 2 hours or so and everybody has crossed. And so they address the crowd. 301 survived the parapet. 67 did not. That's
worse than last year.
That is 18%. That is worse than the year before. Yeah. But I just want to pause on when I read 67 people died on the first day. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be one of those books. Okay, cool.
That's a fair amount.
We do find out when General Melgreen is addressing everybody and kind of telling them this, what his signet is.
Yeah.
He can see the outcome of battles.
So that's a very good skill for
It's got to be a pretty powerful one.
I'm curious if it's like they say battles, but I feel like political battles. Like how big is this?
Ooh, like what constitutes a battle?
Yeah.
I just kind of thought he could foresee the end of any argument, any situation.
Yeah, disagreement.
Yeah.
So it's like
it could be a battle. It could be, I think, like political.
Oh, that would be cool.
He can see the outcome of things.
Yeah.
There you go. We also find out he has a black dragon, and they're very rare.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's
at this point. So then again, that kind of feeds onto we're learning more about the power of your dragon leads to what your power will be and how powerful you'll be.
Well, and we know Mira in her class got like the most powerful dragon.
Did she?
Her class. Yeah. And it's a really big guy. And her mom has a really powerful dragon and can control like wind because she actually made like when she was fighting with Mira at the very beginning, she made it so
chilly,
cold in the room, like just using her power of wind.
It's not wind, it's storms.
Storms.
Yeah, because wind wielding, it's not.
Couldn't she have pulled back the weather on the parapet?
Or did she make the weather?
Oh, what a B word.
Like, I don't know. Because that's when I don't know. Who knows?
She just really wants this daughter to die.
Who knows? She doesn't sound very nurturing. That's for sure. That's for sure. So Violet and Ree are both called to second squad, flame section, second wing.
Oh, so not what I said earlier.
Not chair. First chair, second chair, but it is Dain's section. And then she sees Xaden, who's a wing leader. Okay, so let's backing up real quick. The way this is set up is there are 4 wings. there's a wing leader for each one. And then there are like officers underneath them. And then there are 3 sections within each wing, which have section leaders. And then there are 3 squads within each section. Xaden is a wing leader. He's a 3rd year. Dain is a section leader, which is pretty uncommon for a 2nd year. Violet did also note that when he was helping her with
Yes, so he is high potential.
He is.
But he is multiple levels below where Xaden is.
Yeah. So Xaden leans over, says something, and then it's announced that Dain's section is going to switch with somebody else. And so Dain just starts walking. Everyone's walking over there. As they're walking, Violet realizes it's 4th wing. And they're in Xaden's wing now. He can literally execute her whenever he wants to.
Yep.
Even just for discipline at this point.
I mean, it's just, if he says, I don't think she'll make it, and just murders her, then he'll be applauded.
Yeah, because he's weeding it out.
Yes.
This is also when Xaden announces to all of them that the only people that are not allowed to kill them are the people in their direct section. Everyone else is up for grabs.
Yikes.
It's like, okay, all right. Also, we learn, or at this point when Xaden's kind of talking to the wing, multiple dragons come over and land on the wall. And Violet's like, oh, it's not a wall, it's a perch, because they're all perched right on there. Yeah. And I just, rocks are falling away. I think Dain cracks a joke like, we're going to have to fix the mortar again or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and she even says, like, these aren't like pebbles. The rock that fell right next to me is as big as my torso.
Yes.
Mind you, she has a small torso.
She does. But it's still a big rock. She is a human. A small human, but a human. She does notice the massive navy dragon. It's the biggest one. She said, like, staring through her, like was looking directly at her. One cadet takes off running back to the parapet. I don't know why you would think this is a good idea.
No.
And what instantly happens to that runner?
The dragon one of the dragons actually just lit him on fire.
Yeah.
And she talks about, like, the smell of sulfur in the air. And she's like, you can't even look back to see what happened.
I think she said sulfur and something else. And I'm like, that'd be skin.
That would be dead. That'd be dead body.
And then two more.
then everybody started freaking out and 2 more ran. And she did, I will say, know a lot more than the average person about dragons. Because when she was describing it, she's like, this is a blue dragon and blah, blah, blah. And it when she was in the parapet, she would actually, like, to try to calm down, would just, like, recite to herself, or actually out loud. She was, like, shouting it, but just to try to stay calm and focused, she would just shout different, like, history lessons about dragons.
Yep.
And just to, like, calm herself down. So she knows a ton about these.
Well, guys. I mean, she's, like she said, her and Dana are Air Force brats, right? Yeah. So she's been to a lot of, like, outposts and things like that. She does mention, though, that she's seen dragons a lot, but she's never been this close before.
No, she's seen them in the air way above her.
Yeah, so it's kind of like if you live on an Air Force base, you see the planes,
but
all day long.
Not in your face.
Not looking at you. And she said it was making, like, those curdling noises. And
like, just waiting for her to flinch, almost.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just incinerated 3 people. So now 70 people have died on the first day.
Oh, yikes.
All right. So Xaden makes it clear. Also, I forgot to mention, Xaden did this by initially being like, are you guys proud of yourselves? And they're like, yeah. And then all this happens. And he's like, by the way, they're not impressed.
Yeah.
You're just prey to them. Yeah. So you're not that great.
So now who's excited?
Who's excited? What? So Dain, later on, they're walking. And Violet is asking Dain about being switched over into Xaden's wing. He's like, yeah, he wants you dead. It's pretty much general knowledge. He wants to get back at you for what your mom did. Duh, right? So he moved so that he could have a direct line to her. And he also confirms that Navy dragon was Xaden's dragon.
So the dragon that was just in her face, waiting for her to mess up.
Yeah. Seagal, right? Yes. Is that how you say it? Seagal? And he said Seagal is very vicious and ruthless, like known for being vicious and ruthless.
Yeah. So great. The guy that wants to murder me.
Things are looking real easy. It's an easy path, easy street for Violet right now.
Which this is, I hope her story gets out more because, like, she is very similar to these people who are children of the rebellion.
Yeah.
Because part of this is not only that they have scars, but that each family has to sacrifice, but not appoint somebody. They're the only people in the writer's quadrant who aren't volunteering for this quadrant.
Yeah, I forgot about that. We did find out that all those children basically only can go into the writer's quadrant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ironically...
And they're both kind of marked. You're right.
Yes.
Like they have the marks on their arms or wherever, right? Signifying that their parents were traitors.
Yeah.
Everyone knows who she is.
Everybody knows who she is.
Yeah.
But they don't know that she's also forced to be there.
Yeah.
I feel like they would have more empathy if they knew that part.
True. Very true. Look at you looking at the emotional side of it.
I know, I'm learning. I'm trying. I'm poor at it.
We also at this point, before they go to class and start doing all that, we find out Dain's signet. Because Violet saw him before open his door, unlock it with magic. He can read a person's recent memories by touching their face. Their most recent memory. Which is very rare as well.
I will say, I don't know if you noticed this, but when I heard that, because I didn't read, I audioed. But he touched her face a lot when they were in his room.
Yes.
Yeah. So he was just reliving shit.
I did not notice it the first time I read the book. I was very aware the next time I read the book of how many times he touched her.
Yeah. But he's touchy-feely.
He is touchy-feely. I mean, I just took that as they've actually had a crush on each other their whole lives. Initially, at least.
I took it as stop touching her face unless you're going to kiss her.
Well, I think because it would make you feel so awkward if someone touched your face.
If somebody touched your face, I feel like that would be awkward. Do people come up and touch your face?
Well,
no matter how close friends you are with them.
No, I know, but I have a special needs daughter who constantly touches my face, and I'm always like, don't touch my face. And she's like, why, Mom? Why? And I'm like, because I don't like it. Do you want me to touch your face? And she's like, no. Then I say, don't touch my face. I mean, it's literally a daily conversation. Love you to death. Touch my arm. Yeah. Touch my hand. Touch my leg.
Don't put your greasy oils on my face, man.
She's always touching my face. But you know her, though. She has the sensory thing, right? So she's like, whatcha? It's always a direct beeline.
No, that's called punching in the face.
Yeah. She doesn't mean to, though. Whatcha? Sorry, Mommy.
It's love. It's love taps.
It's a love knockout. All right. So very rare signet. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And it's actually a confidential signet. And she notices there's patches on him that show that it's confidential. And so he's like, I think I'm going to go into
intelligence.
The FBI.
Basically.
Whatever the FBI equivalent
is for them.
Yes. One of the classes, and Mira actually warned her about this, or Dain actually warned her about this, but one of the classes doesn't just have first years, it has everybody. And again, the rule is you can kill anybody unless they're in your direct group of 6. So
or in class.
Yeah. So a lot
when they're sleeping.
Yeah. Really? Okay. Yes. So, or when they're sleeping, but that rule evidently is sometimes breached because Mira also told her wear everything at night.
She did tell her
wear your armor at night. And so she's wearing armor to bed every night. So sleeping really well.
In a bunk room with 100 people.
Yeah. So this is the class that has all class levels. And there are 2 professors up there. One that she's known.
Professor Markham is the head of all the scribes. Yeah. And he knows her. And when he walked in, did you notice the nod? He was disappointed. She thought I was supposed to be his star pupil before he retired. And here you are in the writer's quadrant.
You poor little thing. And that's how Dain talks to her too. You poor little thing.
Yeah, but it was more a friendly, almost love, kitty love type of vibe about disappointment about it. With Markham, I got more of a selfish vibe. You were going to be my
protege.
My protege, and now you're going to die.
Now you're going to be wasted.
Now you're going to die. And then the other professor, Professor De Vera, for Battle Brief, and Markham was with her. And I did get the vibe too at this point that that's not common. Like writers and scribes don't like do stuff together.
Yeah.
Because she had to make a special point to say, treat him with the utmost respect.
Yeah.
Did you pick up on that or no?
I didn't pick up on that.
Okay. Yeah.
And so she starts asking questions. And these are like real life scenarios. There was a breach. We lost a lot of stuff. The cadets are supposed to start asking questions and help problem solve through this. And so people start raising their hands and their questions are pretty much told that they're stupid.
No, they weren't awful, but they were like, more. Let's go deeper.
I feel like it felt very much like if I raise my hand and say something silly, everybody will laugh at me.
Yeah. She purposely told the first years are the only ones who could ask.
Yeah.
So then you have second years and third years in here who have done this every day for the last couple of years who know what to ask. And you're like waiting on all these first years to have enough guts to ask
the question.
Yeah. And so there were a couple that were asking, how many people died or why did the wards go down? And they're like, that's above your pay grade. That's above your pay grade. Yeah. And frankly, what I was thinking was if we knew that, we wouldn't be briefing about it. we would not have to worry about it. Yes. But we do know that there's a griffin attack on one of the outposts. And that part, what I found interesting, though, is that part is true. So the information they're learning is actually news from the front because they might get called to the front. Yeah. Like, that's how serious this is.
Yeah. And she actually is like, I don't think they would take first years.
Like, first years never go. But the way this conversation starts to unfold, she's like, maybe we will go. I don't know. Ward's failing? That doesn't sound good. And remember, if you're within the ward, no other magic can be used, only dragon magic. So they are constantly at war with these griffin riders, right? So this griffin attack is a normal thing, but their magic doesn't work on the other side of the ward. So it really does keep them safe.
Yeah.
So they find out that as they're hearing more and more about this attack on the Eastern Wing with the Griffins, we learn more about Griffins. So Griffins are the half lion, half eagle, because they have beaks. I couldn't think of the word eagle. So they share some of the abilities that dragons do. Oh, as the cadets are asking those questions, Violet whispers to Ree, ask what the altitude of the village was. And Ree's kind of like, what? Why? And she's like, just ask it. So Ree asks it, and Deborah is like, ooh, good question. Like, you were onto the right path. She tells her, and then asks her why she asked that. And Ree kind of was like, ugh! But then she did know because griffins don't perform well at high altitude. Mm-hmm. So it seems like a high altitude. And Violet's like, good job, that's what. And Deborah's like, yes, that's correct. Cadet Sorengale, do you have anything to add to that, or do you want to ask your own questions from now on? And she has her ask. And so Violet asks a couple of questions. And what I find interesting is as she was processing out loud with how far they were when the first responders were coming, she says out loud they were already on their way, and everyone laughs at her. And that asshole Jack Barlow that tried to throw her off the parapet. What an idiot. You're so stupid. And she's like, nuh-uh, leave me alone. But Deborah was looking at her like, no, keep going with this train of thought. Yeah. Where are you going with this? As she's processing it, she realizes they were already on their way, because if it was they were an hour away and they got there at this time, they had already had to be leaving because they wouldn't have been notified. They would have been 2 hours late. They would have been an hour and a half late. So they had to have already known the wards were failing. Yeah. And Jack's like, you're such an idiot, blah, 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 blah. And Deborah's like, she's right. One of their dragons can sense when wards are failing and sense something was wrong, and they were already on their way. Had they not gotten there, the entire town would have been gone, and there would have been more. Might have lost the outpost completely. Yeah. Jack.
Idiot. You forgot about magic.
You forgot about the dragons being badass.
Yeah. So then they get out of class, and Rhiannon and Sawyer, they're like, you're pretty good at this. Can you tutor us? And in exchange, will help you with what we're assuming you're just really crappy at, which is fighting.
It evolved much nicer than they did give a vibe that no one else has given her, right? That like they give her the benefit of the doubt for her size and all that, and kind of let her say, oh, I'm not very good at this stuff right here. You guys are better.
Which Mira would tell her, don't show the
weaknesses. Yeah, or weaknesses. Yeah. And I did like how it was totally a conversation with Rhee and Violet, and Sawyer's like, I could actually use some help in history as well.
And remember, this isn't my first rodeo, because he's actually somebody who went through the whole thing last year and never bonded with a dragon.
Yeah.
So he made it to the very end. So how this makeup is in terms of levels.
Yeah.
In your first year, you get classes and stuff, and you're going through all this stuff. You're sparring, and you're pretty much getting ranked. Then you have to go through this gauntlet to prove that you're physically, mentally, emotionally ready for a dragon. Then you are presented, and it actually go into like match or bond with a dragon. And that's called the threshing.
And Sawyer wasn't picked.
And Sawyer went through all of that and was never picked by a dragon. And now he gets to come back.
And now he's repeating the whole year.
Which he can still just die randomly.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So he's like putting himself through all that again. And it's not like a huge advantage.
I mean, because all of this, the way different people die throughout this entire section is like...
Yeah. Oh, he slipped.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they actually start going through assessments to spar and everything like that. Rhiannon is actually a good fighter. She wins her match.
Yeah.
Riddick actually wins his match. Now it's Violet's turn. And nobody was able to match up with her. And so she's like, phew, I don't have to do this. And a second year actually raises her hands. Imogen's like, I got this.
Not to mention, Imogen has a relic.
Yeah. And she comes and they start sparring.
Imogen makes it very clear she knows who Violet is. And Violet knows that her mom killed Imogen's mom and sister. So Imogen's pissed this whole time. She is yelling at her about this. I'm going to kill you. This isn't just like a sparring match. She is like going for the jugular.
Yeah.
Right.
And it gets to the point where Imogen's a very good fighter. We've got 6-month Sally over here.
Yeah.
Violet, who hasn't really fought at all. No. So she actually uses a little magic. She gets into a position where she is basically like ripping her arm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And remember,
you're right. She used powers to do that because Dain was calling her out from the sidelines.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so she is ripping. And Dain's like, okay, enough on the sidelines. And Violet is like, not enough. I'm in the middle of this fight.
Yield. Yeah. Telling her to yield.
Yeah. And she's like, no. And it gets to the point where she literally disconnects her whole arm. Like her arm breaks it. Her arm is broken and dangling from the shoulder.
Yeah.
Finally, they're like, okay, enough. And Dain picks her up and carries her away. And she like starts yelling at him like, you're not helping me, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that. Now people know that we care about each other.
Well,
and you're making me look weak.
Now, she wasn't really with it enough to say those words. It was a lot of her thinking that as she's coming in and out of consciousness.
She said it with her mind.
But she was pissed and like was like, now everybody knows. Like she could hear him saying these things to help her when he got her to the infirmary and all that, and she's not able to talk, and she's using her smart assness in her mind to go, now everybody knows you care about me. Which I found kind of funny. Like it added a little funny twinge to everything you just described, because I'm like, she's a smart ass. I like this. She's really, really hurt right now. It also showed us how she can block pain out.
Oh yeah.
Because I could not imagine. She kind of made me think of you because you have a very high pain tolerance.
Yeah.
And I feel like things that normal people would be done. You're like, I mean, it was like,
it happens.
You just breathe through it. It's fine.
It's fine.
It'll be okay.
Yeah. She is like pain. You get your arm ripped off. She doesn't even scream.
Yeah. But they get to the infirmary and the lady knows her.
She's been like healing her for 5 years.
Yeah.
So she knows her well. She's like, oh, go get my husband. He needs to come because he's a writer. And so he has actual magic.
He's a true mender. So
yes.
Tell us more about that, because the healers heal.
Yeah.
But what are the menders?
So healers have to use modern technology and tools.
Right.
And so there are modern day doctors and nurses. But a mender actually is somebody who's a rider, and their signet, so the power that they get from their dragon, is to heal. And this is super, super rare.
But it's not even healing. It's putting it back to the way it was.
Yeah.
So it's not, it could be bones. It could be a uniform. It could be it could be a building, right? That's a hell of a power.
That is.
I want to pause for that power. That's insane. Okay.
Yes. We also find out that Brennan, that was his power, and that's a super, super rare power.
It's super rare, and we also find out that Brennan was like set to be like that generation's best mender, right? Yeah.
Well, of course, it's the family.
Dain keeps telling, I forget the woman's name. Sorry, she's obviously not a main character.
Doctor.
The healer, to not get Nolan. Nolan is the mender. And she doesn't need mended. And like, why don't you want her to be mended? We've been mending her for years. What are you talking about, boy? Like dismissing.
We know her.
Dismissing her. And Nolan does walk in, but we find out the reason is because if she's this hurt and it's only the first day, we can get her into the scribe quadrant. And Nolan's kind of looking at her. Violet's pissed, but she's drugged up.
Yeah.
Because the healer doctor woman gave her a little bit of meds. And so she's slurring, but she is adamantly saying, I'm not going to the scribes.
No.
I'm not going to the scribes. You mend me this one time. I can't do it. You mend me this one time and never again, because I don't want to look weak.
Yeah.
Mend me and send me back, Nolan.
Yeah.
And Nolan basically is like, you heard the woman. If it was anybody else, you'd be gone. Get out of here. Go. Yeah. I also like that they said Nolan's 80. Like it's an old couple.
Yeah. An old married couple mending this little girl, and Dain is being Dain.
But they said he's 80, but was still in full like flight leathers.
Yeah.
So this old man in like the black leather.
I picture with a little beer gut.
Oh, so I picture like a hunched over tall skinny man, like very skinny man.
No, I picture him with like a little bit of a gut. And hobbling a little bit so like his armor, like in the chest is tight, but then it's like all stretched out in the belly. Maybe I shouldn't.
Now I'm going to picture him totally different in the rest of this reread.
Maybe we should.
Yours is better.
I mean, sorry, Rebecca.
I pictured a hunched over old man.
Yeah. So they. Sorry.
Wait, hold on. I think I'm still going.
Yeah. You said hurry up.
I'm sorry.
I feel like you're really going.
I'm stoned.
I mean, it's good. It's good. Good stuff sideways, but it's
I know. 3 hours later. Okay, so Violet wakes up, leaves the infirmary, heads back to her bed. Some people's beds aren't filled. And she's like, no, they're not dead. That just means they're taking a shower or they're with me. And I picture her climbing into her bunk. Ree's like, oh, you're back. Are you okay? Is everything okay? She's like, yeah. Finds this little book under her pillow with a note. And it's a note from Mira. And she's like, I can't stay to see you. They're not going to let me. I got to get back. But I saw your name. I saw you didn't die. Good job with that.
Yes.
And here is what Brennan gave me on my first day. And it's Brennan's journal.
So she knows, and she's a scribe, so she can read that.
Yeah.
She knows what's going to be coming.
Well, it was Brennan's way of giving Mira tips. And I liked how the first page was Brennan's handwriting going, you are strong. You made it this far. Good job, little sister. So he must have done the same thing and put it under her pillow.
Yeah.
And he told her, you have to live because you cannot let Violet see you fail.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, and then here Violet's reading it. And she's
like, I can fail because nobody's behind me.
So what's awesome is she finds in there a map and that the instructors plot out who you're going to fight the week before.
Yeah.
So if she can know from this map that Brennan wrote, if she can see the wall and see who she's fighting, she might have a chance, right?
I will also note there is a bunch of empty beds. We find out that people were actually killing each other on the map. Like, It was okay during the sparring to kill somebody. And good old Jack, Mr. I'm going to throw you off the ledge.
I forgot about this.
He actually killed his person who was like,
snapped his neck.
Gotcha, B-word. So now, in order to, quote, unquote, keep ahead,
Yeah.
Violet is sneaking out every night.
Yes.
And she is collecting poison.
Yes.
And she has to
poisonous plants.
Have variety with this poison. Yes. She can't just do, I got a handful of berries. I'm good for the week.
That would be too obvious.
Yes.
So she's smart enough to know we got to have different ailments hit these guys.
Yes. So she's out one night and she's actually up on a tree and getting berries and stuff. And there are people that are starting to come up underneath this tree. And she realizes that Xaden is there, a lot of other kids that had that relic on them.
She also noticed Imogen, who had kicked her ass earlier.
Yes. And she also noticed a lot of first years.
Yes.
So she's like, oh, shoot, there is an actual law that if you have a relic, you can only be 3 max. So that way you can't come in and try to start a rebellion again.
Yeah.
Which, again, you're generationally segregating people.
Oh, for sure.
Which
the marked ones.
Not great.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's like, okay, this is all very illegal.
Definitely illegal.
Thank goodness they can't hear me breathe because I can't hear them talking right now.
Yeah.
But let me climb lower so that way they could hear me breathe and possibly hear me climbing down so I can actually eavesdrop.
Again, this is the difference between me and you. I did not think about them hearing her when she was climbing down and thinking about this.
Yeah.
So my first reaction is cockiness. Obviously I got this. How hard could it be?
I mean, maybe she's...
And your first reaction is self-preservation.
Yes.
Oh, okay, now I need to be quiet. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
I always said I suffer from the how hard could it be gene.
Yeah. I suffer from the it's probably too hard to.
I don't know. I don't know, gene.
Okay. And so she overhears them talking and she's like, oh my gosh, they're building plans. And she just starts thinking and assuming that it's going to be worst case scenario. And then she's like, oh, all it really is them, seeing if anybody wants tutoring help.
Does anybody need help with math?
Hi, so I am a 3rd year. My name's Xaden, and I would like to help you stay alive. And she's like, this is a great support group. I wish I had one of these.
I like how you say, hi, my name's Xaden, da-da-da, except for it's Xaden. And he's like, if you can't do it, then maybe you should just die and save me the grief. Is basically what he told that one kid.
That's how I read it.
The one kid's like, I can't do this. And he's like, you should probably die. You should probably give up. You're probably right, actually. And I think it was his right hand. Was like, dude, harsh. Boo. Yeah. Dude, chill out a little. And he's like, I mean, it's going to save me some grief. If da 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 da. So you heard it all nice, but really he's like, fuck you.
I just relate it. It's my translation. The Marissa translation.
The HR translator said, volunteering to tutor.
Basically. She is like, okay, they all disperse. She's like, I should really tell Dain, but I don't want to tell Dain. It doesn't feel right. And
Dain's a rule follower, remember?
Dain's a big rule follower.
Dain will snitch, for sure. Yeah.
And you know what happens to snitches? They get thumbs up because...
HR translator.
No, I'm just kidding. I enjoy a good whistleblower.
You do.
But anyway...
You would. But she waits a long time.
She waits. She says, I count to 500.
That's a long time.
And then I climb down.
Yeah.
And she's like, and then I walk out and I'm immediately caught by Xaden.
Yeah.
She's like, it starts with a hand over my mouth, but then I all of a sudden feel a knife up against my throat.
Oh, wait. We forgot about when they were all talking. One of the other people yells out, when do we get to kill Violet?
Dang it.
But what she witnessed was basically Xaden was like, she's mine.
She's mine to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah. People are like, I think it was Imogen who was like, she killed our parents too. Garrick reminds them all that it's her mom that was responsible for the deaths, and holding things against the kids is something that Navarians do where they're at, not Turish. Is that how you say it? They're Turish.
Yeah.
right? That's something they do. That's not something we do. We don't hold it against the kids. It's not her fault. Her mom killed our parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so knife against her throat. She hears that it's Xaden, and she's like, oh, now he's going to take care of me. Yay, me.
Guess 500 wasn't enough.
But she actually does talk pretty sassy back to him for somebody with a knife against their throat, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She's sassy as hell.
Yes.
Balls. She has balls.
Yes. So, and it was like shadows around her. Mm-hmm. And she actually like gets turned around and stuff and like throws 2 daggers because remember she has these like sheathed in her jacket, in her
armor.
I keep wanting to say costume because I feel like for Violet it probably feels like a costume.
Yeah, it's badass costume.
Yeah,
very good cosplay.
Yes,
except for they're actually playing.
Yeah,
no, doing.
So, are we going to go to Comic-Con dressed as these people?
I'm down.
Okay.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
So she takes 2 of her 4 daggers and throws it towards his head. And then she takes the 2 other ones and she's in a fighting stance. And he just looks at her and is like, oh gosh, that's such a poor stance. Like, really, I command shadows. And you're
He's
really
like,
bringing
you
this
call
to me?
that a stance? Yeah.
So we find out his signet is he can control darkness.
Shadows.
Is what he said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so she's like, well, crap. And he actually like just holds his palm out and the 2 daggers that went into trees behind him actually just float onto his hand. And he like walks over and is like, you dropped these.
Yeah. But even before that, he's like, looks like you missed.
She's like, did I?
Yeah. Back up. And he backed up and it was like right lined up with his ears. Like she purposely missed.
Yeah.
Badass. Not gonna lie. Little badass.
Yes. So she's like...
Oh, and his response. This was the first time we got like a little bit of a nickname for her. And because he said, fascinating. You look all frail and breakable, but you're really a violent little thing. And I just saw this little like amusement.
Yeah.
Like he's just amused by her.
Yes.
You're so cute.
You're
Violet.
Oh, like a wind-up murder toy.
Wind-up murder toy. She is kind of a wind-up murder toy.
Yes, and she's sassy to boot. So,
and he's like, you should show that little trick to Jack Barlow.
Yeah. So he stops razzing you, man.
Yeah.
He's making you look weak.
Yeah. She should show that little fucking trick to Jack Barlow.
I mean, he did murder somebody on the first day. So that's awkward.
Yeah.
So
2 people. He murdered someone on the first day, and then he broke that guy's neck. Oh, that wasn't the first day.
You did 1, 2, and then middle fingered me.
We're not on YouTube. You can't see it from it.
Okay.
Okay, so before they leave, though, he's like, you gonna go run and tell mommy about my little club? And she's just very honest, and it's like, no, you guys weren't doing anything wrong. You're just trying to help people.
She did have a knife to her throat when she said it, so, I mean, I feel like...
Did she? I thought he had lowered it.
No. She...
Either way, she's like 5'2" and he's like 6'8". So
and can control everything
shadows.
with his mind.
She didn't seem threatened, in the very least.
No. But she did say it doesn't seem right. It's just you guys are helping each other.
Yes. Yes.
Like, it's a support group, bro.
Yeah.
Relax.
So then, the next morning, a couple days later, I'm not entirely sure, but Dain is escorting Violet to breakfast duty every morning. So Violet took breakfast duty. And we did find that out earlier in the book, that scribes get up earlier, so she's used to getting up early anyway. And Dain walks her there every day. He gets up early, too, because they get to talk and not be like, I'm your section leader and you're my cadet.
Which still feels, like, risky. Because Mira's like, don't sleep with anybody that's not in your class.
That's true. And Dane's big on that, too. Like, we can't be seen together and stuff like that. I'm doing this for you. He's told her that before. Like, her reputation.
It's going to be seen as, like, preferential treatment.
Right.
Like, even if it's not a relationship, like, sexually.
People are going to perceive
it that way.
Oh, for sure.
Or it's still nepotism.
Yeah.
We grew up together, so you're giving her extra treatment.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that was stupid.
This day, particularly, challenges are going to start back up again. And the last time her arm was nearly ripped off. So Dain is expressing his concern. He's worried about her. And Violet's honestly the entire conversation reassuring him that he can't save her. And you're not going to save me from the threshing. You're not going to save me from the gauntlet. You're not saving me from Jack Barlow either when it comes down to it. Dain is like, stay away from that psychopath, by the way, that you mentioned, Jack. He's fucking crazy. And Violet's like, yeah, I was planning on becoming his best friend. But she does note, like, Xaden told me to fucking throw knives at him, and you're saying just stay away from him.
Yeah.
Steer clear of him completely. How different they are.
Interesting.
Yeah. Dain also, again, for probably like the 5th time at this point in the book, tried to convince her to sneak out and leave. And Violet's basically like, I got a plan. Don't worry, I got a plan. Mm-hmm. And we do find that at breakfast, she sprinkles this powder of those berries that she was finding when she...
So poison
on Oren's efforts.
We're on first name basis with these
Oren.
people. Just
Oren's eggs. Mm-hmm. So she knew she was going to be called to fight Oren today. And we do know that these challenges, they're weeding out the weak. So they're putting the strong people with the weakest people.
Yeah.
He's a big dude as well. So we shall see. So they then, after breakfast, are in Professor Corey's class where they learn about all the different dragons. Professor Corey is able, his signet is able to project what's in his mind. So he's a human projector. This color dragon tends to be intimidating. This color dragon is this way. So Professor Corey's whole job is to kind of teach them about the different dragons, what dragons are up for bonding this year, and how to like approach them. Yeah. Like that's the whole point of this class.
Well, he actually says you don't approach them.
Well, yeah. They talk about how less and less dragons are choosing to bond each year. So there's about 100 dragons that want to bond this year, and there's like 180 of them. That's a lot of people.
But I mean, I assume
there's a lot of death still to come.
Yes. Yes, there is.
I assume most of them will be dead. Is that what you were about to say?
I mean, probably. We're probably gonna have 20 leftover dragons.
He does bring up the huge black dragon. Jack Barlow is kind of jawing the whole time during this description.
That's mine.
Yeah. Like, ooh, what's that dragon like? And so we're finding out more and more about this black dragon. Its tail is very rare, like so many different things about it. Its last rider died like 5 years ago. It has not really been seen much since. It was pretty traumatic. We do find out in that story that its last rider died. His signet was siphoning and he burned out. And Professor Corey is really like cautious as he's telling the story. And Violet realizes like he's talking about Brennan. He was trying to save Brennan and died.
Yeah. Right?
Burned out. Used too much of the power, basically. So at the end of class, Professor Corey stops Violet to kind of... And Violet asks, was that Brennan? He confirms it was. He does give her another compliment, though, that I think pulls Violet off guard a little bit. That Brennan was a great writer and he was a good man, and Mira is shrewd, which I don't know if that part is a compliment or not, but she's a very gifted writer, basically, good in the seat, but you're smarter than both of them. And when Violet says thank you, but it's not going to really help me in the threshing, like that's not really what dragons are looking for.
In her sassy temperament.
Yeah. Professor Corey's like, they choose for reasons that they don't see fit to share with us. So you might think that, but the dragons make the rules.
Yeah.
And you don't know what they think is the best. So.
Yes. And so now it's time to spar, which is her strong suit. I think we can all agree, based on her first fight where her arm got ripped off.
Obviously.
And so she's like, okay, let's go. And she is watching Rhiannon, her BFF, we'll say, or actual closest alliance, because Mira would not take too kindly to her being with a friend.
They're BFFs.
Yes. But she's watching her match when Jack Barlow comes behind her and is heckling her again.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know what? Screw it.
He's like the quintessential 80s bully.
Yeah.
Like, picking on the smallest girl.
Of course. Well, it's also a girl that her mom murdered his dad.
He doesn't have a relic.
Oh, I thought he did.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, why is he such a dick?
He's just an asshole.
Okay. I just assumed.
You know who I pictured,
who?
Too, the whole time? The asshole from Hunger Games. From District 1. The blonde with the eyes too close together.
Keiko or whatever.
Yes.
He's actually a really famous actor now, so you can't say his eyes are too close together.
The blonde from Hunger Games, that guy.
Kato.
Yes. Kato, yes.
Kato. Okay, so she throws some knives at his head, and Jack is like, I can't believe you just did that, and ran away. He is such a little punk.
He is a little bitch.
He is such a little punk. And Dain is like, why would you do that? I told you not to do that. And she's like, because
he can't think
he's a jerk.
Yeah.
And she swears in the corner of her eye, she sees Xaden with a
smirk,
eyebrow up and a smirk on his face. The most gorgeous
You
man.
guys don't see. She's giving me eyes as she's telling me that.
I'm looking directly into your eyeballs.
Awkward.
Well, what parts of your eyes I can see right now? Not very much.
Oh my God.
Okay. So she is like,
yeah.
Okay, I probably shouldn't have done that, but who cares? He's not heckling me anymore.
Yeah.
She gets called up to the ring. Oren also gets called up to the ring, and he's like, "You're gonna take it."
Meanwhile, he's green.
Yeah, he is one of.
Take it.
Yeah, he is one of Jack's.
Sorry,
he's one of Jack's like monkeys. Yeah, just I picture like.
Yeah.
Exactly,
like
the tall guys that sit behind you.
Yeah,
and just bark.
It is.
And so he's just like, You're gonna look like shit soon. And he basically gets pinned and just starts throwing up all over the place. And so Violet's like, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
And Rhiannon is like, oh, awesome, you did it. And she even like self-deprecatingly was like, yeah,
he's sick.
He's sick. So
as she steps over his vomit.
Yeah. And Rhiannon's like, well, I'd rather be lucky than good.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, fair. Quote unquote lucky.
Yeah.
So she's figured out her secret power.
Using her brain.
Using her affinity for waking up early and poisoning people.
Brain.
To work. And she wins the next 5 matches. Not a scratch on her. Gotcha, Paul.
No, she has scratches because she does mention a couple people like so got this, my knee or whatever before. But yeah. But what you were saying earlier, how she picked different plants because different things happen to each person.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, now we're on match 6. She's stretching out and she's like, uh-oh. Turns out she poisoned this person too early.
Too good.
She's too good. And she's like, oh, I guess we're just going to skip a week.
Oh, man.
Shoot. And guess who raises his hand and is like, I'll help.
Xaden. Yeah.
So she started with 4 daggers, but with each match she won, you get to steal one of their daggers. And so she's got like a sparkly handle one. She's got like masculine one. She's got ugly ones. She's got pretty ones. But basically she's got 6.
Yeah.
Across her uniform, her costume. And
I don't think Violet would appreciate you calling it a costume.
I think she would actually. If
they call it her seath.
Okay. I'm going to go with costume then.
Okay, costume.
So, she's got her seath on. But, she's like got all her knives and
Oh boy.
Okay. Xaden raises his hand and he's like, I'll go ahead and take a turn. And she's like, well, crap. There is literally, technically he could kill me anytime. Yeah. But if I get killed in a match, nobody would ask a question. They're like, and he's known as the best fighter to the point where the person calling the match is like, hey, everybody, come look at this. The best fighter of our generation is fighting the weakest first year. Let's see this happen.
You guys, you get a show.
You got it. And she's like, okay. So basically all these people that have been heckling me are going to not only see how weak I am, but they're also probably going to see me die.
Yeah. And I didn't get to poison Xaden. So,
that's on her though, because she poisoned too early.
Yeah.
If you're going to poison accurate.
There was even, one of those groups, she poisoned the whole section. Remember, the whole section was vomiting, so they thought it was a bug.
It must have been the flu.
Ooh.
Whoops.
I helped all you motherfuckers out this week.
You're welcome. So you're not supposed to use powers in the fight. We know that because Imogen got in trouble the first time for doing that. But you are allowed weapons. And Xaden comes walking up and just takes his weapons off and is like, I don't need them. And she's like, rude. And he's like, but I don't. And she's like, fair. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then he just like starts playing with her.
Mm-hmm.
And he like takes one dagger of hers and like just scoots it to the side where she can't reach it. Takes another one, scoots it. And he's like, basically during this infighting, they're just kind of razzing each other back and forth.
Yeah.
And he basically says in my Xaden voice that, hey, really smart to take out an opponent before the battle, but if you're not battling them, you're not getting better.
Yeah.
You need to be able to progress. That's why
shit.
I'm able to kick your ass so hard right now.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're kind of a third year. And he's like, yeah, but I'm really dumbing it down. Like, I don't have knives, and I'm like easily taking your knives away
and blocking everything you're throwing.
The first one, I think he even like caught it midair while he was straight towards his face.
I remember.
Yeah. So,
you definitely HR like translated that because he was much meaner. But yes, that's what he said.
But I mean,
you said it in like a hey.
Yes.
Buddy.
Okay. I, again, say it how you should have said it.
It makes me giggle.
So how annoying would it be to pair it with me? Because I would HR spin everything and I'd be like, I feel like you should have said.
That's true.
I'm just coming.
I didn't know I was getting feedback. I thought you were translating. Feedback, yes, very annoying.
No, this is my feedback to, I mean, if he is the squad leader.
Yes. Wing leader.
He's
way higher than a squad leader.
Yeah. Okay. If my SVP came down to an analyst and talked like this, yeah, I would be giving him feedback.
I know. I don't think the writers quadrant has an HR department, Marissa.
Okay, maybe they should. But anyway, so he is kicking her ass.
Yeah.
He's not murdering her. She's shocked that she's not being murdered. You know, Dain, of course, is in the peanut gallery like, this isn't fair. You're older than her.
Leave her alone.
What'd she do to you?
That's literally how I heard him chiming in. Like, hey, it's like, do something. What are you doing? Hey.
Yeah. And so basically, Dain throws a tantrum to the point where Xaden's like, okay, fine. Like, meat done.
Enough.
Boom.
Enough.
You ran out of knives, so you literally could never beat me now. And she has to go scramble and pick up all her knives. And she like goes back to Dain and is like, shouldn't have yelled like that.
It's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Why are you so embarrassing?
But Xaden does say, like, he's holding me back.
Oh, yeah.
And she's kind of like,
I know.
Fair.
Fair.
By the way, he does want me to run away. And
to the scribes.
He
doesn't believe in me. You also forgot to mention.
Did I? Let's say that again.
She was turned on.
No, you've got to start it. You also forgot to mention because I just ruined that take.
You also forgot to mention she was getting hot. This whole interaction.
Yeah,
Xaden was turning her on.
That's not the HR way to say it.
It's not. But it's the smothering way to say it. She was getting turned on and she was scolding herself for being into toxic men. She's like, What are you doing? Why are you into this? But she called him a beautiful fucking asshole.
Yes. And we all know somebody like that.
And he is also...
Some of us married them.
He's also a shadow daddy. Go figure, the mysterious shadow daddies with slight anger issues are the ones we're like, oh,
talk about a bad boy.
Hello. Okay, so Dain and Violet are talking, and Dain is kind of telling her more. It starts out nice, right? It starts out Dain just kind of giving her. They're talking about Xaden, and she's like, would a dragon would Sigel even bond with him if he was like going to go against everything because she's trying to justify why she got all hot and bothered with him and is into him. He's not toxic, right? Right?
Somebody tell me he's okay.
And he's like, no, I used to think yes, but now with Kath, no. Like, there's no way. They're in your head all the time. And she's like, wait, what?
Which is awkward.
Yeah.
But also, how did all the people leading the rebellion not know they're dragons?
Very good point. Hold that. I did not ask myself that question when I was reading it.
Oh, so
the first time.
Did I just call out a foreshadowing moment?
No, but no, you actually didn't. Yeah. But it does make sense.
Yeah.
Like, how would the rebellion even have happened?
Yeah.
They all had dragons.
Yeah.
So we'll hold that because I think maybe it'll get answered in Onyx Storm. We don't know.
Maybe there's bad dragons and good dragons.
Bad dragons and good. Ooh, we don't even know that. That's not foreshadowing either.
Ooh.
Oh, well, then it's kind of foreshadowing that I said it wasn't foreshadowing.
Oh,
damn it!
Spoiler, not spoiler.
So, in this, Dain makes another attempt to get, like, he goes
to touch
over...
her face.
To touch her face. No. He goes through various threats that he knows she's gotten that she has not told him about, and she downplays every single one of them. Like, she found mutilated violets in her bed. And she's like,
they're just flowers.
They're just flowers. It's not that big of a deal.
Your name's Violet.
Your name's Violet. He's like, I saw the one dude shove you into the wall. And she's like, people get shoved all the time. It's fine. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And then Dain tells her that he told Professor Markham, who's the leader of the scribes, the one who was supposed to be, about all of it. And that Xaden wants to kill her to try and get her into the scribe unit.
And she's like, wait, Xaden's not trying to kill me. He could have killed me in the mat.
Yeah. But she's also pissed. And I was pissed. I'll be honest with you. It's like, okay, drop it, bro. Like, at this point, every time he talks to her, it's about getting her up. And obviously people are dying every day. I don't feel like someone needs that kind of reinforcement. So at first I found it a little bit endearing. I understood because, okay, this must be really scary is how I took it. I will say,
was like, okay, Mom.
At this point, I'm starting to get really annoyed with Dain. Like, enough's enough. She's told you multiple times at this point.
And it makes her start second guessing herself, which lowers her chances.
Yes.
She's going back through her mind like, well, I did kind of cheat. There's not cheating.
Yeah.
It's surviving.
Right. Right.
Nothing she did. Well, I mean, poisoning people is not cool, but it's not against the rules.
Frowned upon, maybe. I don't know.
Her wing leader
Yeah.
knew and didn't really say anything.
But she's using her brain, right? And she has a scribe brain. So it's you're seeing the powers of that a little bit. But I like how Violet actually, like, confronted him. Not actually. It's not like she wouldn't do this and she doesn't do this all the time. Yeah. But she told him, you undercut me constantly. And Dain makes it about him and how he has to watch her die. In that conversation. I'll have to watch you die. How about she'll die? How about positive? How about give her some tips, asshole?
She'll be dead.
He was annoying me there. Yes. I was done. I'm a little annoyed with him.
Yeah. No, I feel like he's just breeding doubt instead of just having faith. It's like the difference between people who hold you back versus lift you up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's a pull her back. Be my side chick.
Yes.
Be my homemaker.
I don't get homemaker vibes necessarily, but
you don't know that.
But I'm a little annoyed with him, so I'm okay that you said it.
It's definitely like protective.
Yeah.
Overly protective.
Is it red flag protective? I don't know yet, but I'm annoyed.
I think
listen to her.
I'm going to try to read it as older brother vibes.
It does have older brother energy, but he's also coming on to her too. So,
but he also really wants to bang it.
Right.
So it's kind of like stepbrother vibes. It's just like a Clueless moment. I really hated that Cher, the main character, had a crush on her stepbrother. She ends up with her stepbrother.
Yeah, it did always have kind of a creepy.
Yeah. So I think that's what's going on right here.
That's a really good analogy because that one always kind of had a little bit of a incestuous vibe as well. Because he was a couple years older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are now at the point of the gauntlet. Mm-hmm. And if you remember, this is kind of like the second big test in becoming a writer. Well, the second big test in the first year, because we know that there's 3 years. And we also know during all these readouts, it's not only first years that are getting read out. So there are second and third years that are dying. Also, it's just the percentages are smaller.
Right.
And this is basically like a very deadly obstacle course.
I kind of pictured a ninja warrior up the side of a mountain.
Yes. I was more leaning Survivor.
Oh, well, yeah. Visually.
Okay, yeah.
But the craziness of what they were
is just nuts. And it was all purposefully built for you to physically be able to be a writer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the person in front of them, who was it in front of them?
Well, they had Sawyer go first.
Okay, so Sawyer, he's done it before. He goes through, looks like a butterfly going across it.
And the professor's like, show him how it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he went through very easily, but there are a couple points where Violet's like, okay, I'm way too short to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's physically impossible for me to do. And in the book that she read about the gauntlet was, go slow, be precise. It's better to be slow than dead.
Right.
We also know with the gauntlet, you go through it. If you fall, you die. But there are, like, ways that you can save yourself.
There's, like, assist ropes. Like,
So up in the sky, there's just ropes all over the place. And if you pull on a rope to save your life, you just add 30 seconds to your time.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever time you end up with in the last time that they do it is the order in which you go and get presented.
To the dragons.
To the dragons. And you don't want to be like 158th in line because the dragons are kind of over it, right? So it has, like, you don't want to add time, but they're like, it's better to be slow than to be dead.
Yeah.
And so Arlie?
I think Arlie.
Yeah, Arlie was talking about how her sibling or older cousin or somebody was telling her about it and how it's really hard to do the spinning log part.
Yeah.
So don't slow down. Just keep going. If you stop, you die.
Right. It'll just roll off.
And Violet...
Not only that, Arlie was also really pumped to do this.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, you crazy.
Yeah.
She's like, I've been waiting my whole life for this.
This is amazing. And Violet was actually looking at the course and was like, oh, crap, I didn't even look that far because I thought there's no way I can get past, like, these 5 before it.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, oh, God, I'm not going to be able to make it. This is not my strong suit. And so they start going in order. Sawyer, of course, makes it across.
They're in line getting ready to do this gauntlet. They, like, this ninja warrior thing up the side of a mountain, and Taryn's talking shit, which is the other henchman, Jack Barlow.
So one of the 3.
Yeah, but he's in their squad. And he's talking all this shit and cracking jokes about Violet, like pointing out exactly where, like you said, she's going to miss.
Yeah.
She's not big enough. She's already talking about it in her head.
Yeah.
And then he goes up and he gets stuck on, I can't describe each point of it, but he gets stuck on these big balls. Like he can't, like,
just very
reach
early
around. Yeah, it's like the second one.
Yeah.
Right? And he gets the rope, and instead of just, like, waiting and getting his footing and going back and doing it, which is what everyone should be doing because they're practicing, his bitch ass climbs down.
Yeah, for sure he
does. Tara, little bitch.
You are.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the bitch boys. We'll call him the bitch boys.
Right. And the whole time, Arlie's like, I can't wait, I can't wait, I can't wait, I can't wait. And she's giving Violet advice the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
She's going through this.
Yeah.
And I think Riddick and Ree and Sawyer are all ahead of her, like giving her tips and stuff like that too.
So they're going across, and
so Violet gets to that twisting staircase that Aurelie, I think that's how you say her name, was telling her about. Like, just go straight through it. And she's giving her tips, and she just runs and doesn't stop, quick feet, and she makes it across. And then as she's kind of scoping out the next one, a massive green dragon flies over. And she's like, I am never going to get used to that. And she hears Arlie scream behind her. She slipped and, like, made eye contact with her. And just the staircase, like, rolled. The log rolled or whatever. And she just fell off. And it was, like, 40 feet. She had already been, like, talking about how deep this was to the ravine.
Well, and I think she even thinks... This is why Mira was like, don't make friends.
I mean, everybody dies.
Yeah.
You know? I mean...
yeah. So at the end of this, Violet does not make it all the way across. She climbs down. She just can't figure out how to get past this one point where she's like, I'm just not tall enough.
Yeah. Yep. Shoots to hearing Arlie's name in the roll that next morning. And they have this custom that if you die, your parents can come pick up your body and your belongings for burial, or they can just leave it with the school to like bury you in that stone and burn your remains. And Arlie's parents chose to just have her stuff burnt.
I don't remember why it's culturally that they burn. There's some reason why
you give it all to Molly, like because the whole time we're not pointing out these gods either, which probably will be something we'll come back and have to do like in the theories, I'm assuming, because they do talk about all these gods a lot. But it was like you give it to Moloch because they need whatever in the afterlife, or yeah. So it's like it all goes with them and should all go back.
Yeah,
them and their stuff. So she is taking Arlie's stuff to be burned. Which I have here, weird tradition, because this should all be there. And she sees Xaden and Garrick and Bodhi. And she's out after curfew at this point. Or she's, I'm sorry. She took Arlie's stuff to be burned. And when she's leaving, she sees Xaden, Garrick, and Bodhi. And Bodhi is Xaden's cousin. Yeah. She says he looks like a mini version. And he's got a relic. Garrick has a relic too. Mm-hmm. Garrick's his second. There's like section leader. So Garrick is also in their wing. But she says Bodhi is like a mini Xaden without like the scar. Yeah. We also didn't mention, I don't think, that Xaden has a scar down his eye. It's a defining feature. It's all silver and everything. But she sees them walking back, and they're coming back from a flight. And she's like hiding from view. And she hears them being like, there must be more we can do. There must be more we can do. Xaden stops and like tells them to go ahead, and she knows right away. Like he knows she's there. He waits for them to leave, and Violet comes out of hiding, and she's like, okay, I know you know I'm here. Are you going to kill me or not? Yeah. Like, just ask him straight out. And he's like, I haven't decided yet. I'm not entirely sure. Their banter back and forth is super, I'm not getting hate.
No.
At all.
But I do get surprised at how much curtness she has back to him.
Oh, yeah.
As just even...
They're definitely matching each other. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
And tenure.
Yeah. They're like, matching energy.
Yes.
And if anything, she's probably pushing more energy.
Well, and she's technically a subordinate in a military setting.
She's like, you're probably happy that you won't have to go through all the trouble to kill me. And he's like, killing me wouldn't be any trouble at all, Violence. Mm-hmm. He calls her Violence.
Which I actually love.
I do, too. Because it all came from him being like, ooh, you a violent little thing.
Yeah.
Violence.
Well, and it also is like empowering her. Like,
yeah.
And he
says he's like keeping you alive is the thing causing me
the most pain.
The most trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, okay.
I did take that as like while the three of them were walking, they were giving him shit because he hasn't killed her yet.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I did not think of that. There must be more we can do. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like...
I was just like, hurry up and get to the interaction with Xaden and Violet, because I think there's something.
Oh, the bad boy vibes.
He does bust out at the end of this that she's just upset because she had a squad mate die, and you're thinking of running away to the squad quadrant. And she's like,
I am not. Excuse me?
Who? Are you talking to someone behind me? It's not me, sir.
I'm sorry. Are you Dain?
Not me, sir. She does think of Dain in that, where she's like, oh, if he knows that, then Dain could be in trouble and all of that. And Xaden gives her a good pep talk. He's like, hope is fickle and dangerous. It steals focus and aims towards possibilities instead of keeping it where it belongs in the probabilities. So he's like, focus on ways that are actually going to kill you. And, like, don't die. Maybe. Just, that's, like, my best advice. Just don't die.
I also could read this, and I know this wasn't the vibe I got.
Yeah.
But you could read this as, don't shoot for the stars, because you need to keep things more realistic.
Oh.
And that's kind of a burn.
It is, but I took it more as, like, just focus on what you can...
outside of the box.
Yeah. And he actually says, he's like, the right way isn't the only way.
Yeah.
Like, you can figure this out. You have everything you need. You can do it. So, champ.
See? Or is he saying, you lowly person, go be a scribe?
No, I don't think he's saying that.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But, like I said, you could read it either way.
Yes. He does also, I feel like they had a little steamy moment. Mm-hmm. Because he's like, the only reason you're still alive is because you are the scale that I use to judge myself against. Like, I'm a good person because I keep you a little bit of possession.
But it's also, I don't keep you alive. I just don't murder you.
Well, but
that's the context.
Because it means I'm a decent person.
For not murdering you? That's the bar?
Make me a better person. Is what he said to her.
So we really need to talk about this bad boy thing. Because to me, if somebody comes up to me and says, I consider myself a good person every day, I don't murder you.
Yeah.
I'd be like, can we
no.
raise the bar?
In real life, wow.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Yeah.
Maybe should call 911. In book life, it's hot.
But
he has a scar on his face and tattoos. Marissa, stop. This is my life.
I feel like 20-year-old Nicole was very much like red flag book boyfriend. You had that same bar for like in-person boyfriend.
You say this because that's my personality. But I never dated anybody who ever gave that vibe or looked like that.
No, but you wanted them.
I never even made out with them.
Why would you lust after them so?
I think I think I gave that vibe in my 20s. And now
you didn't discover reading until you were out of your 20s.
Until I was already married to the accountant. No.
Okay.
I'm just kidding, babe.
So now it is time for the final gauntlet.
Dun, dun, dun. She's never once made it all the way up.
Never made it across.
Yeah.
She hasn't ever tried the part that she was like, oh, I'm not tall enough to jump that high.
The one she can't get by is the second to last. So there's one she has never even practiced.
And the last one is supposed to show you that you can climb onto a dragon.
It is the Ninja Warrior one. It's that wall that they run up.
Exactly.
Right?
So she's thinking in her head, and meanwhile, Dain is you need to leave this morning.
Yeah.
You're going to die tonight.
Yeah.
Or today.
Yes.
During this final gauntlet. And she's like, screw you. She didn't actually say screw you. She actually was like, I'll think about it. And then standing in line, she's like, did I make the wrong choice?
No, but I like how before she goes, he's like, what did he say? Fail. Yeah. Oh, I can't watch you die. That's what he said to her. I can't
watch this.
I can't watch it. I can't watch. And she's like, then don't.
Yeah. Go home. Nobody wants to hear.
When he said that, remember I said I was annoyed with him?
Yeah.
That really pissed me the fuck off.
Well, she
is about to scale a Ninja Warrior obstacle course on the side of a fucking mountain, Dain. I can't watch. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Don't. I'm glad she said don't. Anyway.
So she said don't. She said, get out of my face.
Yeah.
I got to get in the zone.
She does.
And she gets in the zone. And so she goes through. She's doing all of the stuff that she's already been able to do.
Yeah.
And when she gets to that obstacle that she can't, you know what she does? She grabs a... I did that thing where I
almost thought about it.
Ooh,
you saw it, didn't you?
I did. I'm glad I okay. She, you know what she did? Okay. So she grabbed the rope that adds 30 seconds because, again, it's better to be slow than to be dead. And she actually launches herself across. So she's able to get past the obstacle.
Well, she's using it as restraint, right? Because she fucks up her hands.
Yeah.
Remember?
So her hands are
she's
bloody.
Using it as leverage.
Yes. So her hands are just bloody red to the point where she's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose this rope because there's so much bleeding happening. But she gets across and in the background, somebody yells, what a cheater! You can't do that! She's like, watch me, motherfucker. She's like, I can take 30 seconds. And so she gets through. Her hands are rough right now.
Yeah.
And so now she's like, oh shoot, this last one that proves that I can climb a dragon.
Right.
That there's no way I can jump that high. And my hands are really bloody. So it's like, how am I going to climb?
Yeah.
I've got to pass this. And so she runs up. She doesn't even make it 3/4 of the way up. She grabs a dagger, stabs it in, and launches herself from there up to the top. She made it through. And the same little B word in the background goes, wait, you can't do that! She used a different object, blah, blah, blah. And she turns around and she goes, in her scribe voice, Section 5, 4, whatever, blah, blah, blah. you can, anything that comes on you, you're able to use, it's like part of you. And so it's part of your person. So you're able to use it. Bam! Mic drop.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you missed the best part. Xaden actually took her side in all of that. So Amber comes up, and Amber's the chick that we forgot to say this.
I don't even know her name. I just know her yippy voice.
She is a yippy voice, and I did picture a yippy voice, but Dain had alluded like they had a thing. Anyways, cut that part out. That doesn't matter. But
I'm not going to cut it out because I want to say. I'm going to make you say cut it out because it doesn't matter. Because it does matter.
Anyways, you missed the best part. Xaden took her side in all of that. So Amber's yippy ass comes over and is like, she fucked up in 2 spots. She can't use the rope. She can't do this. And Violet's like, I planned on getting the 30-second delay. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, okay, well, what about the knife or whatever? Mm-hmm. And she recited the codex, and Xaden was like, she's got you there. Yep. And Amber was fucking pissed. And he was amused.
It's like Charlie Brown to me with her. It's just like, yip. Okay, so she made it through.
She did.
She actually, when Xaden says she's got you there, she was looking at him and she's like, the right way isn't always the only way.
She did use his line when she was giving the description.
So she kind of was like, you have to be on my side. Yeah. Because
that's kind of, but he was looking at her like, that's what I was telling you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's not giving I'm going to kill you vibes.
But she seems so surprised every time they interact. She's like, I really thought he was just about to murder me.
And he's literally only given her murdery eyes the very first time.
Now he's giving her sexy eyes.
Kind of is. He kind of is. At least that's what I'm picturing in my head.
No, actually, I think you're picturing that. I think what he's actually giving her is professional development vibes.
I don't think so.
I'm going to mentor you.
I think when you look like Xaden, it's never professional.
Not if she wants it.
I'm just saying. Just kidding. So this is when the cadets are going to be presented in front of the dragons. Mm-hmm. So in this interaction, when they're like, all right, line up, make sure you're 7 feet apart. Why? Because if they roast somebody in front of you, you don't want to be caught in the crossfire, mm-hmm. right? So getting all this advice, one of their squad mates, Luca, who's really fucking annoying, is like, hey, I have a question. A squad before said that there's a feather tail. So we learned about...
What's a feather tail?
We learned about what feather tails were. Apparently, they're smaller dragons that never bond with anybody. And
nobody knows much about them.
Nobody really knows anything about them at all. They never leave the veil.
So they're walking through single file based on their time.
7 feet apart.
Yes, 7 feet apart. And I think they're the only squad or section that hasn't lost anybody.
Well, they lost Arlie.
Oh, she was the first one.
They have definitely lost the least amount. And I think she was the first one.
You're
right. Yeah.
So, and they know that they're supposed to be talking.
Yeah.
Because the dragons want to get to know them based on their conversation.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the nerd that Violet is, she, of course, is reciting random facts about things, mm-hmm. Trying to talk through it while Tynan is in the background just chirping.
Yeah.
And just being like, I want to pick this one. Da, 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 just being I
got to see which one I'm going to choose.
Exactly. Yeah. Very much I'm not getting the honor of being picked. I get to pick and choose for myself.
Yes, very much so.
Which is not very respectful in front of dragons. That's not a good vibe.
Yeah.
From what I know about dragons.
Well, and Violet's correcting them the whole time. I'm pretty sure this is for them to see if they're going to pick you, asshole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And she notices that Ree seems very nervous.
Yeah.
And she's she needs to lighten up. She needs to exude confidence. And so she starts talking to her about her sister, and her sister's pregnant. And it just kind of makes it lighter. And you actually start to see them as they're walking, mm-hmm. start to lighten up, start to appreciate the dragons. At first, every time she's describing it, she's like, oh, I've got to stay still. Oh, I've got to do this.
So they're walking through, and they're just chatting back and forth. Riddick's cracking jokes, things like that. So they're walking. They start to see different dragons. At one point, 2 green dragons stop her and are like sniffing all around her, sniffing in front and sniffing in back. And they kind of look at her hand, it's bandaged up, and she's like, oh, I hurt myself on the gauntlet.
Which they don't like weakness, but she knows that the green are supposed to be the most practical.
Yes.
So that's why she's explaining all this. Like, there's a reason for this. It's not because I'm weak.
Right. So she's like just kind of conversing back, putting her head down, like doing the things that she learned in class. And then she noticed that they're sniffing around her armor. And she remembers her sister's dragon is a green dragon. So they smell her. Mm-hmm. And she tells them who they are and then kind of backs away. And then they keep walking down as well. And I can't remember if this is before or after. But at one point, the one of the cadets in the front, who's always the indecisive one, like Pyra or something, didn't know if he should go or stop.
Oh, I think we should go back.
And he's right in front of Ree, right? And they just hear like a whoosh, and he was burnt to a crisp.
Yeah, you can't be indecisive.
And so Ree just waits for a little bit, and she's like, okay, fire's out. She's like, they like keep walking and going. They get around and they see the golden dragon. And it's like
a feather tail.
She says like the dragon can only be like maybe a couple feet taller than her, right? And we know she's already really tiny. Tynan. Asshole. Asshole loudmouth is talking all kinds of shit. Like someone should put it out its misery. It's the weakest one. Blah 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 blah.
Which dragons can hear you, bro.
Right. And he ends it with Sorengale, basically, you should bond with it. It's just as small as you, blah, 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 blah. Calling her out for being weak. And Sawyer puts him up against the wall and is like, don't fucking say that kind of shit, especially in front of the unbonded dragons and da-da-da-da. And defended her. And I felt like when we started to get to the gauntlet, you see Riddick and Ree and Sawyer and her, the four of them, like having fun together. But this experience, I feel like it is like really the four of them. Bonding. Yeah. Because the whole time they're cheering for each other. They're giving each other advice. The gauntlet really is like these four, are the like four main character group right now.
Yeah.
So they end up splitting it up and walking off so they don't cause any more issues. And as they're walking out, Luca, the one that's always a loudmouth asking all those fucking questions all the time, says that, well, I think he's right.
Yeah.
You are the weakest. It does make the most sense for you to be gone. And then Violet hears a behind her and goes, please don't be Riddick. Please don't be Riddick. Please don't be Riddick. And Riddick goes, I guess the dragon thought she was annoying as hell too. So they lost 2 more cadets.
They go.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we are on the piece de resistance.
Bum, bum, bum.
We are getting to the threshing. It's October 1st. And she wakes up and says, I will not die today.
It's her little mantra that she's definitely started.
Yes.
I will not die.
I will not die.
Yeah.
Which I should start saying that every morning so expectations are low. All I have to do is not die.
Those are your morning affirmations?
Yes, it sure is.
I will not die today.
Yes. So, Rhiannon and Violet are talking about the dragons, who do you hope you bond with, that kind of things. And, Violet's thinking through her head, she didn't really feel pulled.
Yeah.
Any sort of way.
Yeah.
And so she's nervous that oh God, am I going to have to do this whole thing again? And I actually was thinking, if she doesn't make it, I wonder if her mom would, if she doesn't bond, maybe her mom would go to be a scribe.
No.
General
Sorengale is not going back from what she said.
Oh, she's a tough broad. Okay. And so then she's talking to Ree and is Dain thinks I should just pick a, green one or brown one.
I think brown because they're easy.
Yeah. And Ree just looks at her and is like, he lost his vote when he told you you couldn't make it.
I literally out loud went, boom!
In your face. True friend.
He lost his vote. He did.
And she's like, fair.
Yeah.
So then we go out. They all get put in this forested area. The dragons are all around. And she's just kind of walking around, not getting pulled in any sort of direction. And every once in a while, she hears a whoosh, and it's somebody going up with their dragon.
Yeah.
Right? And so she's like, maybe.
Mind you, there's 60 people who will not bond with a dragon.
Yeah.
So every time it's okay, that's one less dragon.
She is like, I need to climb up a tree, get a better vantage point. Maybe I'll be pulled in a direction. Again, very much thinking like a scribe.
Yeah.
So she gets all the way up and she's looking around and she sees dragons over there not getting pulled. But then she starts to hear Jack. And she hears Jack, Oren, and Tynan. Mm-hmm. The squad of hooligans. The Three Stooges. And, one of them's like, well, Jack, I really think like we should just go get bonded first. And he's like, no, we've got to kill this thing. It's a weak link in the herd. Mm-hmm. Our dragons will wait for us. And it's just the cocky, ungrateful.
It's very arrogant.
Exactly. Arrogant. So I'm like, they don't deserve dragons because they're little B words who are just like see dragons as their pet.
I was like, dragons aren't going to bond with you anyway.
Yeah, nobody wants you. And so she's like, oh, great. They're looking to kill me. I hope they don't look up. And turns out they were actually talking about the feathertail golden dragon. Mm-hmm. And she's like, they cannot kill a dragon. That's against everything we believe in. And so she like looks up on the top of the mountains and she's like, okay, there's the dragon over in that clearing, the golden dragon. I need to go warn her. And so she's like obviously waited until Jack and everybody left and they're hunting her, but she knows what direction. She's like, I'm getting, Yeah. So she hurries down the tree and she actually falls a little bit and totally wrecks her ankle. Yeah. And she's like, dang it, how am I going to beat him now? But she pushes through because, again, she's very good with pain.
Yes.
So she pushes through. She actually beats them to the dragon and she goes up to her and she's just like, hey, you really need to go. People are about to kill you.
You need to go. Fly off.
Sorry. She limps up to a effing dragon.
Yeah.
Even though it's a small dragon, it's still a dragon.
She did say it's still like 2 feet taller than her.
Yes.
But it's like a horse. It's like the size of a horse.
But still bigger than dudes.
I don't want to run up to a horse and say, hey, fly away.
No. But she limps up to
it. It's a Clydesdale, too.
So the dragon just like kind of sits there and she's like, okay, but you're going to have to use your claws. Because she's like, maybe she can't fly away. And then she looks down and she doesn't have claws. She has paws. And she's like, oh, crap. I guess this is my turn. Yeah. And so she turns around with 2 knives just as Oren, Tynan, and stupid Jack come to the clearing. Of course, she's like, you can't kill a dragon. He's like, she's weak. That's what I believe in.
Not only that, as Violet is like, you can't do this. It's not what we believe in. You can't kill a dragon. Xaden's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And remember, his dragon's massive.
Yeah.
Massive. And they're like, you're not allowed to interfere. And remember, we know this because Dain was like, I have to watch you die. Because they can all be there watching, but they can't interfere at all.
So they have an audience right now.
Yeah. So they're like, can you wing leader? And he's like, no, but I can't stop you, but that guy right there is going to be, that gal right there is going to get a little pissed.
I can't control her.
Right.
And she just says, boom, and throws a knife, and it hits Jack right in his arm with the sword. Mm-hmm. And this whole time she's like, I'm so pissed that I'm too small to carry a sword. A sword would be helpful right now. Yeah. I just have these little daggers.
She does make a point that she's not even strong enough to hold the sword.
No.
Yeah.
But she like hits him right in the shoulder where he can't lift a sword
on
anymore.
His sword hand, yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, the good thing about always being in pain and being weak is I know exactly what joints to hit to F your shit up.
Yep.
She didn't say it like that.
Yeah.
But
that was the energy.
Yeah. So she hits Jack again. She hits Tynan in the leg. Mm-hmm. He's down on the ground whining like a little B word. Jack actually runs away and is like, don't forget to kill them.
At some point in this, too, she gets Oren in the side because she said it's the same place she got him in their fight, too.
Yeah.
So she's getting licks in.
As Violet is taking people down, Oren almost gets to her.
Yeah.
And
Xaden's like, behind you.
And he's like, you're not allowed to interfere. But I can narrate.
Xaden yelled. She was able to dodge, and then she hit him with the bottom of her dagger. So he's knocked out.
He's knocked
Oren's
out on the
knocked
ground.
Out. Yeah.
Tynan is up. He's injured with a knife wound, but he's up. And she's like, I don't feel good. I was tackled. I have a bad ankle.
She has something happened to her arm and her leg. So she's got, and her ankle. It was her ankle. Yeah, you're right.
And she's like, dude, you really need to go. And like, he is coming up on her. She is probably not going to win this. And all of a sudden, she hears something come behind her.
Well, it's like wind.
Yes. And she's like, oh, Xaden must have gone up with his dragon. And she turns around, and it's not.
No, it is a massive ass black dragon.
But Nicole, no black dragons are bonding this year.
Well, apparently somebody changed their mind.
Yes. And Foof.
Yeah.
Tynan.
I don't think that's what a fire sounds like. Foof. I'm not going to try and do it, but I am going to make fun of the way you did it.
Sounds so
I probably would have done more like a...
Oh, I thought you weren't doing it. But that was a lot better.
But then I knew I could do better than Foof.
Again, Barlow, I survived today.
Yeah, Tannen be gone.
Mm-hmm.
Tannen be
gone. And then the dragon looks at her and is like, okay, Violet Sorngale. And she's like, oh yeah, you're not supposed to talk to me. That's against the rules. This is awkward, I'm telling you. I feel like I'm mansplaining the dragon rules to you. And he's like, no, dude, I'm bonding with you. And she's like, oh, awkward. And then she looks and she's like, okay, I've got a bum ankle right now and really bloody hands.
Yeah.
And you're really big, so I can't get on you. And he's like, and he has to like shimmy his arm down so she can climb up.
Well, and it looks like he's bowing to her in a way, like to like do it by doing
and
that.
She's like, dragons don't bow, but this one is. So anyway, so she climbs up and he's like, hurry up. I don't want people to think I pick a weakling. He's like such a like curmudgeon.
He is a curmudgeon.
Yes. So she gets into the seat and she's like trying to hold on and stuff. And he just like flies straight up.
Yeah.
And she falls out.
Yeah.
And that's where you told me to end.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's where you made me end.
So
I literally was like, I can't find out if she survives.
When I'm going to read the book, I see how many pages it is total.
Uh-huh.
And then I just go, okay, we could probably do three or four, right? And I just do the math and I just stick a tab in there. And then as I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, okay. So I knew in my head it was probably going to be the next chapter, but I hadn't moved the little bookmark yet.
Yeah.
So when you called me and told me, or you didn't call me, when you texted me and said, hey, where am I reading to?
Yeah, I'm not an old lady.
I
like you.
I literally said to chapter 14, and it literally ends with Violet falling in the air.
Yeah. Violet is free falling, period. Next chapter. Really, Nicole? But anyway, so we find out his name.
So right when chapter 15 starts, we find out. No, I'm just kidding.
We find out Tarnach.
Oh, I think that is how you say it.
Yeah, because I listened to it.
Tarnach.
I
thought there was one more syllable in there.
There probably is. I'm probably wrong.
So he's Scottish. This is fun.
Yes, it's really fun. So thankfully, she doesn't just stay in free fall for the day and a half that I had to wait to find out what happened.
I didn't. I was in the middle of dinner too when you text that. So I just texted a meme and I totally meant to go back and tell you. And then I forgot. Yeah. And then you mentioned it when I saw you the next day. And I was like, oh no, you can read the next chapter.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. So anyway, luckily, Tarnach, but everybody calls him Tarn, grabs her with his claws and is like, dude, you're making us look bad.
Yeah. Really? That was actually verbatim what he said.
Can you just not? And he like throws her in the air and like catches her on his back.
With a shimmy.
And then like uses wind power or something to just like make her stay.
Like seatbelts her.
Yeah. And she like can't move and she's like, okay, well, I guess I am okay now.
I feel bad, but thanks.
Yeah. And he's like, if you can't handle simple flying, and she's like, you're doing acrobats. And he's like, no, this is just legit flying.
Yeah.
But she gets to the point where she feels it is more like a roller coaster, primarily because she is satcheled in there.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, we're coming up on the field. You know, you're going to have to. And she's like, I know what to do. I'm a weakling, not an idiot. I don't know if she said that, but she said something sassier back to this curmudgeon. And he's like, we're going to have to put on a show.
Yeah.
And so he flies in like a spiral, does a bunch of loops. She's like, I'm going to puke, but I really shouldn't.
I think she says at one point, I see the sky and then the ground and the sky and then the ground, the sky and the ground.
Yeah. But luckily, she looks like she's holding with her legs and she's really just being held down.
Yes, she is. Yeah.
So he comes up, sits down, the golden comes up, sits down. Violet turns around and is like, so some advice, next time somebody tells you to fly away, now that I know you can fly, just fly away and save your life.
Yeah.
And she's like, maybe I didn't want to fly away. Maybe I was there protecting you.
Maybe
and she's like,
I was saving.
Violet was like, ooh, this is awkward. Once again, you're not allowed to talk to me because dragons are only allowed to communicate with somebody they're bonded. and so like
she just looked at her weird.
Yeah.
Like, you're so cute.
And so Violet's like, oh shit. And so she's like trying to pull off her limp, but she is like beat up.
Yeah.
Right. And so she like waits in line. She looks up. She sees her mom, who for some reason does not seem impressed that she bagged the best dragon, who
that wasn't even going to bond with anybody.
No, who is legend.
Yeah.
And the teacher of dragons was sitting there, and he looked like he was like a dog with his tongue out, like, look at that dragon, because he hasn't seen that dragon in 5 plus years.
Yeah.
The only people that are allowed to know a dragon's full name are the dragon, obviously, the writer, and then the scribe who writes it down.
Right.
And so she's like, Violet Sorrel, and then she leans in and she goes, Tarnanach.
The chick starts to say, is that so-and-so? And her mom interrupts and goes, she has to say it.
Yes.
And she, remember, that pissed Violet off.
Because she was like, you don't think
like
I actually bonded?
I could hijack the biggest dragon out there.
I tricked him.
Ooh, I got him, Mom. And there was a pretty big betrayal.
Yeah.
And then she says it, and they're like,
I am Violet.
I like how Tarn was also talking shit. And he's like, the pronunciation could use a little bit of work.
Well, of course.
But then she hears in her ear, Andarnia.
And Darthan.
And she kind of looks at Taryn like, dude, what? Like, did you, I thought, we're not like that. I'm already. And Tarn's like, tell him her name. And so they said it again, and the chapter ends with, and then all hell broke loose.
Yes.
And then chaos ensued.
So that's a good cliffhanger.
That is a good
Not
cliffhanger.
what she did.
No, I know. And I didn't move the tab because I remember reading the next chapter and going, oh, perfect. That's the perfect first episode.
Yeah, I'm glad you had a perfect experience there, lady.
I apologize.
Oh my gosh, this was a good one.
It was a funny burn. This, like SJM books, we used to talk about how everything happened like in the last 100 pages.
No, that doesn't happen.
No,
here.
that's not Fourth Wing.
Mm-mm.
That's not a Rebecca Yarros book.
Yeah.
Rebecca Yarros book is 100 pages is 100 pages, bitch. We're going to do a lot.
Yeah. Like, they very much Game of Thrones it because the fifth character you know the most about dies within the first 20 pages.
Right. Yep. Okay, I'm going to switch up the question. Marissa, who is your least favorite character? Or who are you, like, most, like, suspicious about?
Well, suspicious? I mean, Jack.
Yeah.
Because Jack's a little...
So most suspicious about Jack.
Of course.
Yeah.
Jack hates her. Jack...
He's got this, stupid supervillain, like, vibe.
Yes, or Malfoy.
He is Malfoy.
He's Malfoy. Yeah.
That is very true. What was your favorite part?
I mean, the whole interaction with her kicking Jack's butt and protecting the golden dragon. I actually thought at the beginning that she would just bond with the golden dragon. I was like, this is her chance. That's perfect size for her.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever done that before, so who knows what this dragon does. I had no idea that Tarnach.
Yeah. That was going to be a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, I did not see that coming either.
No, but it's crazy. I can't wait to find out what happens. No, has anybody ever been bonded to two dragons?
No.
Don't answer that.
Well.
That's a spoiler.
Sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
The next episode's going to start real quick. Because right now we are paused during the chaos.
The chaos
has ensued. Yeah. It's
two dragons.
Fucking crazy.
So she's special. Back to my earlier
Very
point.
special.
She's special.
Very special. Yeah.
So who's your favorite character right now?
Oh, my favorite. I mean, I think Violet. Yeah. I mean, I think that's also a given. But
outside of the protagonist, let's make that our new role.
Okay, well, can I first just say why I think Violet's a badass, and then we can go outside of her?
Does she have an arm
Because
pad
I
or something?
feel like she should get a nod. She's my favorite FMC that we've read. I've even read in the last year, I would say. Just because
I do really like her.
I've read other ones, and I love her little, like, no ego, sassy ass,
self-deprecating.
Like, yeah, but she's like very understands who she is. I like her a lot. I relate to her a little bit.
I do think her vibe is very similar to yours.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I think
Minus the badass
I think
part.
outside of her, I obviously like Xaden.
Did you get that?
No, I'm sorry. I wasn't.
I said, I think her vibe matches you a lot. Minus the badass part.
I put up a good facade, actually. No, I don't. No, I'm really tough. I'm a tough bitch. No, outside of her, I would say Xaden's probably my favorite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's obvious that there's more to him at this point.
Yeah.
Like, he's not trying to kill her.
No.
So what's going on here? If anything, he's kind of protecting her a little bit.
I think he's lifting her up. He's bringing her to her full potential, which is his job.
The way I say, because even Garrick was like talked good about her, almost like defended her to all the people in the thing. So I'm like, I don't know. To me, I think he's very interesting. He's obviously very sexy, and his comebacks I think are kind of hot. So I like reading about him. So probably Xaden. I do love Riddick too, though.
Yeah, he's funny.
Like, he's funny. He's a good comic relief.
Yeah.
Their little foursome in general is cool.
Well, I like how Ree is so trustworthy.
Very much so. And also doesn't hold it against her when she knows she can't tell her everything.
Yeah.
Like when they're walking, presenting with the dragons.
Yeah.
She was like, what else are you not telling me up there? And Violet gives like an ambiguous answer. And she's like, well, if that wasn't touching the question, you know? And she's like, how about you just let me help you? And it's like, okay, if you can help me, I'll tell you. And it's good enough for her.
Yeah.
Like, that's all she needs.
Well, and I think I like it even more because at the very beginning, everything is strategy.
Yeah.
Her sister told her, don't make friendships, make alliances. And Violet knows that Ree is strong. Ree's doing well and would make it no matter what.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. So she's not an alliance. I'm not an alliance. I'm a friend.
Isn't a friendship an alliance too?
Well, yeah, but there is an alliance. And then there's a friend, which I think is a step up from alliance.
I would agree.
Yeah.
There's loyalty there. You add the layer of loyalty. But like in your heart.
In your soul.
My soul is loyal to your soul. All right, guys. I think that's it.
That's all, folks. Please continue to listen. I don't know. You always do the ending.
Oh, I thought you were rolling with it.
No, I don't know how to say
All right, you guys. Thank you for joining us for our first episode for Fourth Wing. Woo! Follow us on YouTube, on wherever you're listening to your podcast. You can follow Hightails Lit Sisters on Instagram and TikTok. And thank you for talking high tales with your favorite lit sisters. Bye. Can we take out my squeaky bye?
Yeah, let's redo the bye. 1, 2, 3.
Bye.
You did it in unison. That was so cute.
We're the best.